10 random magic cards. We're gonna rate them. We gonna rate them. 10 random magic cards. Display them, serve them up, play them. What's up, everybody? We are at 234. Day 234. Doesn't happen more than once. Although last week it happened because I was getting all the days wrong. So I guess it does happen twice if I screw it up. So let's get to the actual, the real, the non-imposter day, 234 here, and see if the club's going up on a Tuesday. It is Voice of the Provinces as our first card of the day from Avacyn Restored. 6 mana, 4 and 2 white for a 3/3 angel with flying. When it ETBs, you get a 1/1 white human. That's it. 6 mana for 4 power and toughness on 2 guys. Oof, that is like a 2. I'm just gonna go ahead and serve that a 2 and keep it pushing because that's embarrassing. There are better magic cards than that. Although I do like this stance. She looks a little exasperated, like, come on, like she's waiting on somebody. You know what I mean? Like, why? She's teaching someone to fly. You know what I mean? Like, how hard is it? Anyway, we're gonna move on to Jubilant Skybonder over here. I like this little guy. I always have. 3 mana, 1 and then 2 Azorius hybrids for a 2/2 human wizard with flying. Creatures you control with flying have spells your opponents cast that target this creature cost 2 more to cast. So it kind of gives all your guys, itself included, by the way, Ward 2. It's really good in a flying deck. Like, I contend that this is playable in Commander if your whole thing is that your creatures fly. I think we've probably gone beyond that pretty simple premise in Commander at this point, but maybe we got to revisit the fundamentals. Sometimes. If you do that, this guy's pretty good. He's also fantastic. And I know that this is kind of a weak, point in its favor for some people, but in my opinion, this is an important point in its favor. Super cubable card. Like, Blue-White Skies is a deck that will exist in every draft environment until the end of time, and that includes basically every cube that's ever been built, unless you built like a non-flying cube specifically, right? So with that in mind, any cube can benefit from this card because it's fantastic in terms of supporting Blue-White Skies. So really like it there too. I'm just going to give this a 4.6, which is honestly pretty high. I want to give it higher than that, but I don't think I'm going to. So we'll look at Avacyn, Angel of Hope, everybody. Originally from, Avacyn Restored. That makes sense. This is 8 mana, 5 and 3 white mana pips for a 8/8 legendary angel with vigilance, flying, and indestructible. And also other permanents you control. They have indestructible too. Why not? So this is like $40 to buy this card. And it's easy to see why. For a long time, this is a good reanimation target in competitive play. It's got a pedigree there, but obviously this is a Commander speciality nowadays, and for good reason. Why did my monitor just blink? I don't know if you guys just saw that, but it was distressing. We'll keep an eye on it, but either way, man. Yeah, what a ridiculous text box. What a crazy text box this thing has. So everything, including it, has indestructible, and then flying vigilance 8/8. So that ends the game in a couple of turns, a couple of bites. I'm gonna, Avacyn, you're still so good. You're still just so good, dude. And such a pretty lady. I will give this an 8.2. Is that too high, actually? Is it? I'll give it an 8.1. You guys argue. Is it actually higher? I think there's people in the comments right now giving this like a 9. But I really don't think it's there. I think that we'll reserve 9s for other cards. But I will give it like an 8.15, sure. This is one of the more powerful creatures, text box wise, in the history of Magic. But you gotta get it out and all that. It's easier said than done. So I'll move on to Arcane Signet. Wow, have we done Signet? Have we ever done Signet? Have we? If I'm not mistaken, this is also technically from Throne of Eldraine first. Am I wrong? Yeah, you have to view all prints on this bad boy. You absolutely do, because they print it every 10 seconds. Yeah, Throne of Eldraine. Look at that. Look at that. So either way, this is 2 mana for an artifact. You know what Arcane Signet does. You tap it for a mana of your color's color, your commander's color identity. I think that we have to give Signet an 8. I think we have to. And we could go higher. We could, but this is one of the better 2 mana rocks that will ever be printed for the format we're judging for, right? We're talking about casual Commander. So I'm going to stick an 8 on it. And you can actually say that I think some people might think it's too high. Some people might think it's too low. That's why I think it's perfect. So we'll move on to Sorin the Mirthless. Wow. Okay. Sorin the Mirthless. I miss him so much. 4 mana, 2 and 2 black for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. You can play, you can +1 to look at the top card of your library. You can reveal it, put it into your hand. If you do, lose life equal to its mana value. For -2, you get a 2/3 black vampire creature token with both flying and lifelink. And for -7, Sorin deals 13 damage to any target, and you gain 3 life. He is utterly without mirth. Not a very happy man, as you can tell, but a very sexy man, as you can also tell. He's wearing his coat the fun way. You know, you ever see anybody wear a coat like that and not look good? Yes, actually, a lot of time. In real life, you wear a coat like that, you look very stupid, but any character in fiction can pull it off. Either way, over here looking like Louis. Over here looking like Brad Pitt from Interview with a Vampire. But, yeah, this card was fun in Standard. I'm not sure that it's still good, but it's still fetching like $3.50 or thereabouts, sometimes $4. So it must see some place somewhere. Maybe it's just because it's a mythic planeswalker, but that does not guarantee a high price tag whatsoever. Either way, it's just a decent value planeswalker, can draw cards, can make guys, and that's what you want on your planeswalker. This is a decent 4-drop in Standard until it got outclassed by a couple of cards that came along before rotation. You can probably name a few, but either way, this is still like a more than solid planeswalker. I will give Sorin a 5. I'll give Sorin right out of 5. Again, you know, not too hefty of a casting cost, not too low of a casting cost, not too high of a starting loyalty, not too low of a starting loyalty. It's got a +1 that draws cards and a minus that makes creatures. These are the things you want out of your planeswalker. It's got an ultimate that's not too difficult to get to and actually has a real, you know, effect on a game. So, you know, altogether, just a normal. This is exactly the power level I'm looking for in a Magic card, 5. But we'll move on to Flawless Maneuver from Commander 2020. This is still like $10. 3 mana, 2 and a white for an instant. If you control a commander, this thing's free. Creatures you control gain indestructible till end of turn. We've all seen this card a whole bunch. There's a reason it's $10 because it's crazy. it's really $11 at its absolute lowest price tag, and in some iterations it costs 13 to 15. So like this one's like $15 because it looks awesome. But yeah, dude, just I don't know how to rate a card like this when like Teferi's Protection exists, but I guess like you just play both. There's plenty of commander decks that play both. Still a really desirable card. I will give this a... God, there's a lot of good stuff today. Wow. Stack day. Like, are we really going to give 3 cards an 8 point something? I'm going to give this a 7.7. And the reason I'm doing that is because there are plenty of 3 mana effects that just do this. You know? Unbreakable Formation and a couple of other things. You know? It's not like this is a really unique ability in white. And usually it does cost 3 mana. You know? And that's a little hefty, honestly, for this ability. But when you can cast it for free, obviously it's crazy. So I'm going to rate this higher than I would a card like Unbreakable Formation, obviously. But, you know, still, it's not like that broken considering in its base state, it's kind of a normal card. So I'm just going to give it a 7.8. That's still very high. Just for the record, that's a very high score. It's a good day today. So we'll move on to bad Magic card. Are we going to get a bad one? Yeah, it's Moodmark Painter. This is 4 mana. 2. Man, look at that palette difference. Okay, so Guilds of Ravnica, saturated, looking good, high contrast. Jumpstart. What is that? What is this mud? What is this mud card? What happened in the printer? Yeah, look at that. Okay, so Jumpstart, and we go back to Guilds. Beautiful. What's going on here? 4 mana, 2 and 2 black for a 2/3 human shaman with Undergrowth. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gains Menace and gets +X+0 till end of turn. X being the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So I like a cool ETB trigger, but obviously this is like massively overcosted and you have to do too much work for not really that much payoff when you think about it. So we'll just give this like a 2.1, something like that. We'll move on to Mines of Moria. This is a legendary land that ETB's tapped unless you have a legendary guy. You can tap it for a red, or you can pay 3 and a red and tap it to exile 3 cards from your graveyard and create 2 treasure tokens. That is how a mine would work. I feel like we've had a bunch of mines in Magic history, and none of them have been like this straightforward. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you exile stuff from your graveyard. That's mine-ish. All right. And then you create 2 treasures. That's very mine-ish. What a perfect... That is a mine right there. But either way, this is one of those lands that you just play. You know, it's still like $7. Well, no, this version is. It's actually $1. To buy this version, it's $1.50 or so. $2.50 for another promo version. So it's not that hard to get your hands on. But I could see this being one of those that you just play. If you're red, you just play it. super low opportunity cost. No reason not to. You know what I mean? Is your mana base really? Can you just take out a mountain, dude? Just take out a mountain and play this. Why not? So I tend to love lands like this, like a lot. And I tend to overscore them, which I think I'm about to do now. I will give this a 6.5. Because, you know, the ability itself is kind of overcosted. It can come into play tapped, especially if it's an early land drop. You don't have your commander yet. 2 treasures is good, but is it amazing? Not really. And you have to like have stuff in your yard, which you don't always have. So I'm just, you know, there's definitely a lot of checks and balances on it, which keep me from scoring it a 7.5. We'll go closer to a 6.5 on that. Move on to what should be the final card of the day. We'll see if it actually is. Let's look at Staunch Defenders. I believe we've done Staunch Defenders before, just not this art. Yeah, I think we've done this art before. I'm much more familiar with this art. But this card's not that good. It's just 5 mana for a 3/4, ETB, gain 4. Not a big deal. So we'll re-roll because I think we've done it before anyway. Artifact Mutation from Invasion is up next. Still costs you about $1 in most forms. 2 mana, a green and a red for an instant. Destroy target artifact. It cannot be regenerated. Put X 1/1 green sapperling creature tokens into play, X being the converted mana cost of the artifact that you blew up. So that is good. That is quite good. As a matter of fact, I think when we did the Invasion video, like a year and a half, like 2 years ago, we did a video about all the good stuff in Invasion. Did a tour of Invasion. I love doing those videos. If I could, I'd have a whole channel where those are the only videos I did. Just like exploring old Magic sets. I believe I put this in like either the top 10 cards to pick up from the set or like something like cards you should pick up from this set. Because in Commander, this is obviously stout, you know? Like you blow up a 4-drop artifact and get 4 guys, that's good. But even if you just blow up a rock, you know, you blow up like a Felwar Stone or an Arcane Signet or a Talisman, you get, you know, 2 guys. But all you just paid for Shatter. You know what I mean? Like there's always going to be a target for this, and it's always going to put at least 1 or 2 dudes onto the table. Like even if you blow up Soul Ring, got rid of their Soul Ring, you got a 1/1. That's a pretty good ROI, you know? So return on investment. So that's, I don't know. The card is very, very good, I think, as far as like artifact destruction goes. So that said, it is restricted from being a piece of just artifact destruction, but it is a very extremely good one. Instant speed and everything too. So I will give this a 6.4. Am I being too generous today? Let me know in the comments section as we look at our bonus card of the day, because we've just breached like 12 minutes and I feel like I've got an extra minute. I can throw an extra minute on it. Let's look at Samwise Gamgee over here from Middle Earth. I've always liked this art with all the kids. It's wonderful. 2 mana, a green and a white for a 2/2 legendary halfling peasant. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get a food token. If you sack 3 food, you can return a historic card from your yard to your hand. So of course, artifacts, legendaries, and sagas being historic. So cute flavor on Sam here. You know, he's telling the story to the kids. He's reading There and Back Again, I'm sure, to them, you know. So, you know, the more kids he has, the more food he's got to have. You know what I mean? That makes sense. But if you sack the foods, once they've eaten, you can come out and you can read the story to them. Just a fantastic flavor on this. And a good Magic card, honestly. Like in a food-based deck, this is a wonderful commander, but it's good in the 99 too, to be honest. You know, it's delightful for that. Returning cards from your yard to your hand is great. And obviously this can do it more than once a turn, depending on how many foods you have. That's good. So I've always liked Sam. I think he's like a pretty efficient guy to cast, whether he's your commander or, again, he's just like supporting, right? Just all together, I think it's a pretty well-designed card. And when a creature costs 2 mana, it doesn't matter if it's kind of parasitic to food and blah, blah, blah. It's just efficient, almost no matter what. And this is definitely an example of that. So I'll give old Sammy I actually have to rate him. I will give this a 5. Does it deserve that? Maybe not. You know, is it more like a 4.6 or something? Maybe. But I'll give Sam a 5. Again, maybe I am feeling generous today, but boy, did we hit a lot of good cards. Maybe I'm just used to doling out 7s and 8s, and a 5 feels normal. You know what I mean? A 5 feels like low to me right now. But no, I think this is pretty much exactly like design-wise where I'd like a Magic card to be. Not bad, not good. Right there in the middle. Playable in certain things, you know? So altogether, a good day today, man. More hits than we usually get by a lot. So hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Bye.